Morning students, welcome back in ULSS class. Student, we have started chapter number first of history, that is rise of the nationalism in Europe. Now this will be the part fifth of this chapter. And in the last video lecture, we have a one question that what did the liberal nationalism stand for? So to understand what is a liberal nationalism, first of all, let's think about it. What is the, you can say that, what is the basic meaning of the liberalism and from this word is derived. My dear students, we have been discussing that of the time period of the 19th century. So during the early 19th century, the idea of the nationalism and you can say the idea of the liberalism, they both are connected very closely in the European society as we are going to discuss. Now, dear students, during the 19th century, if we think about liberalism and the nationalism, these were two, you can say that they were two closely related ideas in the European society. And if we think about the word liberalism, first of all, let's understand the word. What do you think about liberalism? So if we think about the word liberalism, this word is derived from the Latin word liber, which means free, which means free. So this word, it is derived from the Latin word, which means free. But my dear student, this liberalism, it stand, you can say different aspect in different sphere. If you think about the political sphere, it has different meaning. If you think about in the economical sphere, it has different meaning. So according to the, you can say political manner, in Europe, the new middle class saw liberalism as a freedom for individual and you can say as equality all before the law. This is the basic meaning of, you can say liberalism in the European society in politics and you can say for the new middle class. This is the basic, you can say meaning. And according to this situation, they all stress, you can say that, they all stress for the government elected by the people. It means they wanted that there must be no monarchy, there must be, you can say, no dictatorship. The government must be only those people, those who are elected. And you can say it must be a representative type of government. Okay, if you think about the French Revolution, if you think about the French Revolution, the term liberalism has taken shape into a new meaning. And at that time, it means during the French Revolution, liberalism stood for, you can say that, the end of autocracy. It means the end of the royal family, end of the monarchy, and the clerical privileges. Means the privileges which were given by birth to first state and the second state, it must be abolished. It must be end. And you can say that. So this, you can say that this was the meaning of the liberalism during the French Revolution. It also meant that the framing of the constitution and the government, the formation of the government, it must be according to the parliament. ये उनका एक तरीके से liberalism का मतलब था. They wanted that constitution must be there and the government must function as per the constitution. जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में लिखा है उसके अकॉर्डिंग गवर्नमेंट जो है फंक्शन कर सके. इसलिए जो लिबरल नेशनलिज्म जो था, अगर मैं फ्रेंच रेवोल्यूशन की बात करता हूं, उसके अंदर द एंड ऑफ द ऑटोक्रेसी, इट मींस द एंड ऑफ द रॉयल फैमिली होना चाहिए एंड व्हाटएवर द राइट्स दे वर गिवन टू द first state and second state and which were just only on the basis of the birth, they must be stopped. वो बंद हो जाने चाहिए. उनके अकॉर्डिंग क्या था, there must be a constitution and the government must work according to that constitution. So this was, you can say that this was the meaning of the liberalism during the 19th century in the European society, and the politics must be based on this type. So in the 19th century, the liberal people, they, you can say that they laid stress and you can say they put stress upon the right to property, because at that time the right to property, it was not given to all the people of the society. It is just only in the hand of the few person. You can say that monarchy, sorry, in the first state, and you can say that the second state. But the common people, they don't have right to vote. So you can say that the liberal people, and you can say that because these liberal people, they are the new middle class person, and they have money. So they wanted to achieve some, achieve, yeah, you can say get right to property, so that they can purchase property. because they are, you can say, a rich person due to the trade, and you can say due to the merchant activities. That's why they wanted that right to property, it must be given to all person on equal basis. Okay, students. Now, students, let's think about the liberalism, and you can say that on the political manner. Now, the people were granted equality before the law. It was given, but the right to vote, which is considered, you can say, the suffrage, it was not granted. Yeah, you can say granted equally to all the citizens. ये हर एक व्यक्ति को equally नहीं मिला दिया गया. अगर हम फ्रांस की बात करते हैं, in the French Revolution, you can say that right to equality it was given to everyone, but right to vote it was not given to everyone. During the 1791 constitution, only the man with property, it means only the rich man and only the rich male person, not female, only the rich male person, they had the right to vote. Only those person, men without property and all the women, they were considered as a passive citizen. They were not given to this type of, you can say, right. It was just only, you can say, under the time of the Jacobin Club, means when the constitution reframed in 1792. At that time, only all the adult male member, whether they are poor, whether they are rich, it doesn't matter. They all have, you can say, given right to vote. But at that time, women were not given this right. They were at that time they were considered just only, you can say that, a passive citizen. And it was when France became the republic country. It was the time. It was the time, you can say, at 1792. And later, when Napoleon came into power, my dear student, in 1799, Napoleon came into power, but he became the emperor in 1804. At that time, he introduced Napoleonic Code. You can say that he introduced a civil code of 1804. And at that time, the right to suffrage, and you can say that the right to vote, it was just only limited only few members of the society. Means again, this right, it means right to vote, it is given just only few member of the society. It means some or maximum member, they are excluded from this right. And according to this right, and you can say according to this code of conduct, women were considered as a minor citizen. They were, you can say that they were considered as a subject of the authority of the fathers and the husband. Means they were considered the property, you can say that. First of all, they were under the fathers, and after marriage, they were the property of the husband. And they have to act upon according to that. So they had no right to vote at that time also. And during the Napoleon, it means that whatever the right is given to, after the French Revolution, and you can say under the Constitution of 1792, when France became republic, all the right, it was taken away by during the Napoleon time. Okay, now women have to do a lot of struggle, and you can say that they have led a lot of different movements for getting, you can say that, equal property right. And all women, and you can say all the non-propertied person, and you can say poor person, they demanded equal political right, but it led a various movement. It was taken a lot of time. Right, students? Now, we have discussed that liberalism stood for politics. What does it mean? Now we have to discuss liberalism according to the economical sphere. Now, according to the business point of view, means you can say that according to the economical sphere of the society, liberalism, it means that freedom of market, and you can say that different type of tax, it must be abolished. And these tax, they are put on by the government on the movement of the goods and capital. So everything must be abolished. And this is the point of view according to the liberalism. Means if we want that liberal society, and you can say liberalism in economical sphere, it means that freedom of market must be there, and all the type of taxes on the movement of the goods and capital, it must be abolished. This is the point of view of the business according to the liberalism. And if we think about the freedom of market, and you can say that abolition of the state imposed restrictions, you can say that it was a huge demand made by the new middle class. Why this new middle class made it? because that this new middle class, it is the mercantile group. You can say that it is the trader group, and this trading group, they trade from one country to another. So whatever the restrictions imposed by that by the government of the trade, it was just only on the middle class. So that's why they demanded it. This was the basic reason. So why middle class demanded it again and again? So to understand this thing, first of all, we will take the example of the German-speaking region during the first half of the 19th century. It is very most important aspect to understand why middle class wanted that there must be freedom of market, and you can say there must be different type. There must be abolition of the state imposed restriction. This is the most important thing. At that time, means after the, you can say, Napoleon, there were about 39 princely states at the German speaking area. But if you think about the before Napoleon, near about it was, you can say that 300 princely states. And under Napoleon, Napoleon merged it, all these princely states into 39 princely states. You can say that. Okay, in the, you can see that there are at the time 39 princely states during the first half of the 19th century, and each state, means each princely state had its own currency, has its own, you can say, unit of the weight and measurement. If a trader who is traveling from Hamburg to Nuremberg during the 1833, you can say that to sell his goods, he had to pay custom duty, and every custom duty having 5%, and he had to cross, you can see that he had to cross about 11 custom barrier. It means 55% he have to pay. You have to pay, as you can say that state imposed restrictions, and you can say as a tax. And this does not matter. Matter is this, that the duties whatever is taken, and it is according to the weight and the measurement of the goods. But every region had a different standard of weight and measure. Means every region had its different standard unit. So it always took a lot of time to calculate all the duties, and it is a problem for the trading group. This was the basic reason. So that's why the middle class, they wanted that market must be free, and whatever the taxes they paid, it must be abolished. Reason is that because it took a lot of time to calculate all the duties, having different weight and measurement unit of each state. So they had to face a lot of problems. So students, for example, let's take our example, and this example also given to your NCERT book also. So let's think about this example. The cloth was measured at that time in a unit that is called ile, and every region it was, you can say, different. If you will go, you can say, if you would go in Frankfurt, the tax was charged less, as the ile there was a less. Means the measurement unit, and you can say the unit, it was a you can say less than the standard unit. So that's why the tax was charged here, it is very less. But on the other hand, if you will go in Nuremberg, the measurement of ile, it is more than the standard unit. So that's why it had a lot of tax. So to calculate all these tax due to different, you can say, unit, so all the traders, they faced a lot of problem. This was a problem of the middle class for the trade. So all this this problem, due to all these problems, they demanded to create a unified economical territory. All the business class, they demanded that there must be a unified economical territory, so that there could be a smooth movement of goods and you can see people and capital from one area to another, from one region to another. So they demanded there must be a unified economical territory, and due to their demands, there was a custom union. There was a custom union, and it was formed. You can say, and it was formed. You can say that, and it was named by Jolwe. Now, student, you have to find out that when this custom union has been formed, you have to note down the question that Joel Will, it was a custom union which decided all the economical barrier, and you can say that all the tariff barriers. This was the custom union, and this was considered as a Zollverein. When this Zollverein was formed, you have to find out this question. Now, this Zollverein means the demand of this Zollverein, and you can say this custom union. First of all, it was made Prussia. Now, understand this is Prussia. It means the old name of German. There was another country that is Persia, but it is Iran. Now, this is Prussia, and under the leadership of Prussia, the German country is unified. We will discuss this thing in the next part of this chapter. But listen this very carefully. This is Prussia, and the first demand of the custom union, it was made by Prussia. Later, German state also joined Prussia with the same demand. It means they all demanded that there must be a custom union, there must be a unified economical territory. So you can say that there must be a smooth movement of the goods and capital from one place to another. So they all demanded this custom union. So the custom union abolished the tariff barrier and reduces the number of the currency from 30 to 2. Now this is the most important thing. Now, you as a trader, you have to take 30 currency, but at that time, due to this, you can see custom union, these all tariff barrier were abolished, and the number of the currency it became 2. Means you have just only 2 type of currency you need instead of it, right? Let's think about another things also. Railways were also developed at that time, and this is very helpful for the economical development also, and for the, you can say, national unification also. These were very helpful because people moved from one place to another, and they came in the contact of each other, and they came to know about what were the problems they were facing at that time. So the railways, it is, you can say, they were developed, and these were very helpful for the economical interest also, and for the national unification also. And the economic nationalism too, you can say that it was made strong, the nationalist sentiment during that time, because due to the economical factors, people met with each other, they came to know about all the problems whatever they were facing at the time. So due to this you can say economical exchange, due to this economical exchange, or these type of nationalist sentiment, they arose, they came, and you can say they emerged at that time. Well, so many changes were also taking place in Europe. And one more important thing that happened at that time, that made government work towards the philosophy of the conservatism. It was most important. Means liberalism also came in the European society. But the most important thing, whatever at that time came, that is the government must be at on the basis of the conservatism. It means the government must be based on the tradition as it was before the 1789 in France. This type of government must be there. Means we have to understand what do you think about conservatism. It is most important thing because it is a political view which favor, you can say, that the authority of the monarchy and the authority of the church. So that's a very most important philosophy. And after 1815, it means after the defeat of the Napoleon, you can say that in Europe, in whole Europe, you can say that the conservatism policy again re-established, and you can say restored. So if you think about the conservatism, it is a political view, and you can say it is a political opinion that favors free enterprise, private ownership, and socially conservative ideas. Socially conservative ideas, it means that there must be monarchy in the whole country, and church authority must be there. All the tradition must be followed, and you can see the society must function on the basis of the tradition. So this type of conservatism, it was this political philosophy, it was brought at that time. Now, my student, what was that incident that brought the philosophy of the conservatism? We have to discuss this thing right now because it is very most important thing. Because at that time, it means during the 19th century, the philosophy of the conservatism, it is, you can say, spread all over the Europe. So what is the what was the philosophy of the conservatism, and what incident brought the philosophy of the conservatism in Europe? We have to discuss all these things. So because we are discussing that the rise of the nationalism in Europe, so we are again at that topic. So student, we have discussed that, already discussed, and we already knew about it, that Napoleon Bonaparte, who had, you can say that, won near about maximum part of the Europe. He was defeated during the Battle of the Waterloo in 1815. He also lost a battle in 1813 also, and I also told you the name of that battle. So this was the question for you. Okay, this is the second question for you. First question: when was Joel Verin and you can say the custom union formed? Second question: in 1830, Napoleon was also defeated. Name that battle. Like in 1815, he lost the Battle of Waterloo. So this was the name of the Battle of Waterloo. So in 1830, he also lost the battle. What was the name of it? You have to find out it. Now this battle, if we think about this battle, means Battle of the Waterloo, it was fought between Napoleon and the force of Britain and Prussia. These were not two countries only. These were the group. These were the group. You can say that these were the group of the you can say European force at the time, and it is you consider that Britain, Prussia, Russia, and you can say Austria. These were the four major countries at that time who fought against Napoleon in during the Battle of the Waterloo in 1815, and they all defeated. They all defeated Napoleon, right? So in this way, this was you can say Battle of the Waterloo. When Napoleon, because we have to discuss what is conservatism, so we have to discuss after the event of the 1850. So when Napoleon was defeated, so all the European government, they decided to establish conservative form of the government. It was before the 1789. The conservatives, and you can say that the conservatives, they believed that established traditional institution of state and society like monarchy, church, and social hierarchy, it must be maintained as they were before the 1789. This was the conservatism, and you can say this was the thinking of all the conservative people. So when Napoleon defeated, all the European government, they wanted to establish in Europe the conservative form of the government. They all wanted that. So most of the conservative, they believe that modernization can make us strong all the traditional institutions like monarchy. So modernization must be there. Before 1789, they never thought about the modernization, but after 1815, they knew that modernization must be there because Napoleon brought modernization. Napoleon brought modernization in Europe. Sorry, in Europe. So they demanded that modernization must be there, and this can make the traditional institution strong. So they demanded modernization also. They had also different views again autocratic monarchy also. Like they wanted that a modern army must be there, efficient bureaucracy. Bureaucracy का मतलब होता है अफसरशाही. You can say that. Dynamic economic, it means economical development must be there, and feudal system and serfdom, it must be abolished. So all these things can make monarchy a strong traditional institute, and people believe in monarchy and they wanted to have monarchy in their country. So after the 1850, then you can say the conservative form was established, but this time this conservative philosophy, it was not like before the 1789 conservative form, because at that time first state, second state, all the authority it must have these people. उन्हीं के पास कोई टैक्स देने का अधिकार नहीं होता था. इस टाइप की बहुत सारी प्रॉब्लम्स थी. But whenever after 1850 new conservative form it was re-established, they demanded that modernization must be there because they can make the traditional institution like monarchy more strong. This was the thinking of those people. So with this point of view, all the representatives of the European power, means these were those people, these were those countries, these were those European power who defeated Napoleon collectively. So all the European power, that is called PRUB. It means PRUB, it means P for Persia, R for Russia, A for Austria, and B for Britain. They all met at Vienna in 1815. They all met in Vienna in 1815, and this was known as the Congress of Vienna. And it is a, you can say, most important question for the board perspective of it, because we must have the knowledge about what is Vienna Congress and what were its basic features. My dear student, all the European power who collectively defeated Napoleon, like Britain, Russia, Prussia, Austria, they met in Vienna in 1815, and this came to be known as a Vienna Congress. This would be the first point of your question. Now come to the everything about this. Come to the second point. Second point will be there in the next point, but first of all, we'll discuss about this point again. These were those power who had collectively defeated Napoleon, and they met at Vienna to draw up the settlement of the Europe. This was the basic aim of their settlement. Means what would be the settlement of the Europe after the 1815? That's why they met in Vienna. This was the basic reason. Okay. Now this was the second point. Now come to the third point. The Congress, it was hosted by the Austrian Chancellor Duke Metternich. This was the most again important point, and this person is also most important because he stated many things. He had given many statements, and due to those statements, there would be a question. So this is the most important person. So the Congress, it was hosted by the Austrian Chancellor Duke Metternich, and all the delegates, they drew up a Treaty of Vienna in 1815, which the basic aim here that whatever is done by the Napoleon, whatever is done by the Napoleon and during the Napoleonic War, it must be undo. जो भी कुछ नेपोलियन ने अपने शासनकाल में किया और जो भी कुछ नेपोलियन के युद्ध के दौरान में हुआ, वो सब खत्म होगा और उसको वापस रिवर्स करना है. पुरानी जो चीजें हैं उनको रिवर्स लेकर आना है. Now listen, 1799 to 1815. This is the time period of the Napoleon. Listen here carefully. Okay, you have got here 3 points. Now next 3 or to 4 points you will get further. Now let's think about what were the decisions taken by the Congress of Vienna. The next point, it is Bourbon dynasty. It was restored again in France. During the 1789, the emperor of the France, it is Louis XVI, but at that time it is Louis XVIII who was made the monarch of the France, and you can say who was made the ruler of the France. Next one is France lost its old territory, whatever it had acquired under the Napoleon. जितने हिस्से पर नेपोलियन के दौरान में फ्रांस का अधिकार था, उनको दोबारा से रिस्टोर किया गया. Now a series of the state it was established, means political boundary जो फ्रांस की वो क्रिएट की गई. Why? To prevent French expansion in future. ताकि फ्रेंच के जो है, ताकि फ्रांस जो है फ्यूचर में एक्सपेंड ना हो सके. This was also done, and it is related to France. You can say that. Now, thus with the new arrangement, some territorial changes were also seen, like Kingdom of the Netherlands, which were, you can say, included in Belgium. Now it was set up in the northern side, and Genoa, it was added in the Piedmont in the south also. These were the part of, you can say that at that time France. Prussia, it was given most important new territory on the western side, and Austria, it was given the northern part of the Italy also. On the other hand, means ये सब कर लिया, but most important thing that the 39 states which was established by the Napoleon, they were not touched. They were remain as it is. वो as it is छोड़ दिए गए. उनको टच नहीं किया गया, बल्कि नेपोलियन ने जिस हिस्से पर अधिकार किया था, it was just only divided. वो डिवाइड किया गया. Eastern part it was given to Russia, means in the eastern part Russia was given the part of the Poland, and Prussia was the part was also given the part of the Saxony. You can say that. And what was the real aim behind this arrangement? It was to restore the monarchy again that had been taken over by the Napoleon, and you can say it was the basic aim to create conservative form of the rulership again in Europe. It was the basic aim by the Vienna Congress 1850. This was the basic aim. Now it's a very most important question, my dear student. You have to understand this thing. Okay, students, I think this concept is to clear all of you. So I'll see you in the next video. Thank you. Have a nice day.